Hey friends, how's it going? So this is David Potts with Song Notes, and this is a warm-up exercise video I'll be doing for you guys today, showing you one of my favorite things to do when I pick up the guitar and play and just want to get the blood flowing while I'm having some fun, right? So this is actually based on a Jack Johnson song called Posters, but even if you've never heard that song before, there's some real great fun that's to be had here. This is a lot of E major sort of stuff going on here, and we have 3 different exercises. So I'm going to break them all down for you. They all kind of use different skill sets, but they have a nice kind of backyard casual, a groove that's really satisfying to do solo acoustic. But if you do have a backing track or some buddies you're playing with, sounds good as well. All right, so let's get to that lesson. And as always, you can find the notes and tabs on playsongnotes.com. And I do have a handcrafted, very nicely put together PDF with all these notes in a very print-friendly format if you want to have something a bit more special to learn this song with. So you can find all that at my website, playsongnotes.com. All my other lessons have their notes and tabs there as well. So with that said, basically, let's look at these 3 sequences, these 3 licks, these 3 exercises. Okay, so this first one's going to look like this. We're basically going to be going from an A bar chord to a B bar chord, and then we're going to do a little bit of hammering on and pulling off. Okay, and that's actually something I'm not too great at, but the hammering off and pulling on, that is. I can show you some ways to get around that, but the thing I'll talk about here is you kind of obviously you need to know your A and your B bar chords, right? It's just the F shape, but it's moved up to the 5th fret for the A and to the 7th fret for the B, okay? That's pretty straightforward there. I think what makes this kind of nice, the way Jack Johnson does it, is on this, he's doing, number one, he's doing a bass note strum of the full chord, right? So, and it's on the B too. But what he's also doing is after he does the full strum of the chord, he's gonna silence all the strings with his chord hand, his left hand here. And how he does that is you basically wanna just slightly like depress your fingers, right? So when I depress, that's when the sound goes away, right? And you want to do it like immediately after the strum. So it's like bass note, strum, right? And then bass note, strum, okay? And again, I'm keeping my fingers touching the strings. They're just depressing from the fretboard. And when you keep them on the strings though, lightly, what that does is it prevents the strings from ringing out, okay? That's a nice little effect. And the last thing I'll say here is he has this nice little hammer on from the open to the 5th fret on the low E string. Right? So on the A major there. Okay, one more time. So that's basically what you're doing. When you do the full strum, you mainly want to accent the thinnest 4 strings. If you can. That gives a nice contrast between the bassiness and then the full strum, right? Some contrast between bass and treble. Contrast is your friend when it comes to music. Now this part up here, this is tricky. You're basically going to be going from 9th to 12th to 9th and then end up on 11th fret on the 3rd string. The thing I'll say about this is you want to, number one, bar your index finger on this 9th fret, okay? Because you're going to need it there for the E string and the B string. And you basically don't want to be moving your index finger. Your pinky is going to be doing all the hard work. And your ring finger will be that last note. But this finger should be staying totally still. Now, if you can't get the hammering on and pulling off, which again, I can't really do that reliably, you could just do, right? You could do something like that involving those 5 notes, right? These 5 notes. Now, I'll leave it to you to basically put them together in a way that sounds good. Again, you could do, right, or they're really not going to sound bad. It's a matter of just spotting the landing or nailing the landing. Figure out which note you want to end the riff on and kind of figuring out the timing that you want to do. You can improvise it, but figure out a timing that works so that it's satisfying when you get to that last note. Okay, so that's what I'll say for this this first sequence. Now let's move on to this next one. So this second one here is the one that sounds like this, right? do it again, and the second time, you do that sort of thing on the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, right? Doing some octaves. So let's talk about what's going on here. The first thing I'll say is I want to demystify this first little lick you do here. Okay, so what's going on here is I want to explain how, remember, E major is the world we're living in for this song. So, you know, E major, everyone learns it up here at first, right? Once you learn bar chords, you realize that you can do E major on the 7th and 9th fret, okay? 7, 9, 9, 9, right? In the middle 4 strings. Now the cool thing about E major is that when you're in this voicing, the low E string you can leave open because it's an E. It's an E note. It's gonna sound good, right? So that's cool. So basically, even if you were to do a power chord, I want you to hear that with your ear, right? But then what I want you to do is basically try this voicing. So what's going on here is on the 5th string, instead of doing the 7th fret, we're doing the 11th fret on the 5th string, and then we're going to bar the 9th fret on the 3rd and 4th string with our index finger, okay? So open E string if you want to play it, and then 11th fret, 9th fret, 9th fret. Okay? Now, here are the similarities. They're both E major chords. This one, what this note is right here, this is the, it's a G sharp. It's basically the 3rd tone in the E scale, right? And an E major chord, or any major chord, is going to have the major 3rd in the scale, in the chord that is, and this is that note. So this is a totally valid E major chord. Now, when you keep that in mind, number one, you want to have your hand in that position. You want to be barring the 9th fret with your index finger on those, 5th, 3rd, and 4th strings. Or actually, it's the 3rd and 4th strings. And then you want your ring finger to be on this 11th fret of the 5th string. So then all you're doing there with that lick is you're in that chord shape, but you're just going to have your ring finger come off of the 5th string and then hammer on and pull off on the 4th string and then go back to the 5th string. Right? It's a little bit dirty. Okay, and you can do a nice little subtle strum of those lower 3 or 4 strings afterwards to kind of re-establish that E sound. Okay, you can get a little bit sloppy like I was doing there, but basically I want to call that out because this little lick you have in the tab, it might look very complicated like this, but if you just see this chord shape in your head and then just realize that your ring finger is just leaving one string, going to another, and going back, right? That's all it is. Okay, so that's that little lick. Now the next part of this general riff I want to call out is these octaves you have going on here, okay? Now, octaves are basically just the quick crash course in music theory. If you don't know, an octave is basically the same note, just it's basically the frequency is doubled or whatever the math is. These are all, or this, those are all E notes, right? Even though they're at sort of low to high. So what's going on here is whenever you're on the 6th string, so let's take the 5th fret, right? Index finger, 6th string. That's an A note. The octave is basically going to be always, no matter what note you're on the 5th string, 6th string, you're going to go 2 strings closer to the ground and then 2 frets closer to the guitar hole. So basically, this 7th fret of the 4th string, this is an octave, right? So this is A. This is A, and this is A too, right? So this same pattern, the same shape will work no matter where your index finger is. As long as you're going 2 strings lower and 2 frets up, that's an octave, right? So what else is going on with these octaves is we want to mute the 5th string with our index finger. So basically push down the note that you're playing, the bass note. But then the 5th string note, you're basically going to want to mute the 5th string by just virtue of draping your index finger onto that string lightly, but don't press it down. And then do your ring finger right here. So So here I'm strumming the 3 thickest strings. Okay? So it's 5th fret, muted, and then 7th fret on the thickest 3 strings, right? So it's an A octave. Now this isn't really exciting when you do it by itself, but what Jack Johnson does a lot in this song, and lots of his songs actually, is he'll use these octaves to kind of do a little melody. And it's kind of like a bass line melody, but so what he does here is he goes from, so we'll go from 7th to 9th fret, 7th to 9th, right? To this, 9 to 11, and he'll slide it up. Right? And then we'll go from, right? So you just follow the tab. And the timing is tricky. You kind of have to listen along to my video playthrough or Jack Johnson's recording of posters to hear the sort of like prescribed rhythm he's doing. But the main part though is that just recognize this octave shape. Try to get the muting on the 5th string down. And if you want, you can actually mute the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings as well. So you could basically strum all 6 strings. Right? Or you could just do the thickest 3. But definitely mute the 5th string. That's the most important part. So you're going to have those octaves in each line of this sequence in the back half, right? And again, just note the second half ends with this. Okay? So from 3rd to 5th fret as far as where your reference bass note is. So that's what I want to call out with this second riff here. And then the third and final sequence, what I wanted to call out was, this is the bit more of the straightforward of the 3, but the rhythm becomes really important here because you kind of have a steady strum going on. So what's going to happen is we're going to put our foundational position will be this E major power chord, right? So 7th fret, 9th fret, 9th fret on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd string. Okay, so basically recognize that these are the thinnest 3, or the thickest 3 notes of this chord. Okay, the E major power chord, or E major chord, right? 7, 9, 9, 9. Now, what's going on here is power chord is just the root, the 5th, and the octave. This is our sort of starting point. Now what we're going to do though is we're going to want to be able to play this note, which is basically moving our index finger to the 6th string, 7th fret. So 7th fret, mute the 5th string. Again, same deal, by draping your index finger into it, but don't press it down. And then keep your 9th fret notes the same on the 3rd and 4th string. Okay, so from this to this. And you want to basically play right over that 5th string, mute it, right? And then the 3rd chord we're going to introduce is this chord. We're going to have our middle finger come in for the 9th fret of the 6th string, mute the 5th string. So it's 9, muted, 9, 9. And back to this. So these 3 chords. These are the constant, right? These 2 notes are staying the same. It's the bass note that's changing. But instead of picking it like this, we're gonna do a strum. Okay? I'll also say that if you want, you can leave the 1st and 2nd strings open and the bottom string open. Or well, no, forget the bottom string. Leave the 1st and 2nd string open. Do that on all 3 chords. You want to be careful though, because what can happen is these notes are very, like I don't know the sound terminology, if it's on the high end or top heavy, whatever. They're very loud, right? They're very like bossy with their audio. I don't know how to describe it, but they can sort of drown out the bass note. You really want the bass note to be. You really want the bass note to be distinctive here. That's really the that's sort of telling the story. It's a nice foundational thing. And then these notes with the strumming, they're just kind of flavor to fill things in. So now that we have those going on, let's look at the strumming pattern we want to do. It's basically going to look like this, right? It's down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up. Now, one of my favorite pieces of strumming advice in general is when you're learning a strumming pattern, you want to Don't worry about your left hand chords yet. Sort of just lightly drape your left hand over the strings so they're all muted, okay? And then worry about the pattern with your right hand, right? So down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, 1, 2, a 3 E and 4 and a 1, 2, a 3 E and 4 and a, okay? That's what we're gonna need to do. Then when we apply that pattern to the chords I showed you, it's gonna look like this, right? So we're gonna okay, that's basically all it is. It's a nice little thing. You can let those top notes ring if you want. It's up to you, right? So that's what we have for the third riff. And the cool thing about this song is you basically can stitch these riffs together. And you know, you go from that third one back to the first one. And then you go back into the, you know, third one and you're good to go. So that's basically it for this lesson. So again, this was one of these songs that in the first year or two when I was playing guitar, I really worked toward being able to play this because this is like the kind of music I just really love. This album was brand new at the time. I really dig Jack Johnson's playing style rhythmically and with a lot of his stuff. I just love the whole vibe of it. So it's been one of my favorites to just pick up and mess around when I just wanted something to play quickly when I get the guitar going. So wanted to share it with you guys here. So if you like this, I have more warm-up exercises at playsongnotes.com/warmup, right? These are meant to be just quick little things. You don't need to know the song. I'm not going to be teaching you an entire song. It's more like quick bite-size exercises or things that are fun to play that you can kind of just pick up your guitar and get going with. But they're all on playsongnotes.com. And otherwise, this has been David Potts, and I'm going to end this lesson here. But thank you all very much for watching, especially to the end. You are amongst the special few who get this far. And remember, the notes and tabs are on my website, and the PDF is there as well. It's a good-looking thing, ready for you to download and learn this little exercise on. So check it out. And thanks to all you guys who support me through the tip jar, through Patreon. It all helps out, and it really inspires me to keep it up with these lessons. But with that, I'm going to take off, everyone. Have a great night. If you're watching this, have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm recording this 2 days before Thanksgiving, and it's a fun time to be with friends and family. Hope so. Wherever you are, have a good one. Bye-bye.